Greetings from Just Car People Things. We are here with our new 2004, geez, I nearly said 2024. This is not a 2024 Toyota Tundra. This is a 2004 Toyota Tundra. Friend has a TRD Pro 2023 Tundra, and that thing is awesome. Also, orange. This is green. So it's starting to get dark. I had to wash the Camaro because it was super dirty. It's over there just kind of finished drying there in the garage. But we just got this car here in the last couple days and wanted to do a teardown wash. It needs a lot of love. You know, cosmetically, it's definitely got some issues that need to be resolved. It's all there mechanically. The frame's solid enough, and you know, kind of the bits are there, but the rest of it, it needs a tear down, it needs a detail. The roof needs some clear coat, among other things. You can see we've got discoloration here on the hood and some staining from your windshield washer sprayer, which is acidic. We've got some bird damage here, all sorts of different stuff. So we are not going to drive this car anywhere for probably a solid couple days, because we are going to do a full nose to tail detailing on it. And the first thing that's involved, previous owner put a coat of wax on it before selling, you know, and he did a decent enough job. Car looks pretty decent. Sorry for the road noise. And the car looks overall pretty decent, but there's some paint failing on the wheels, so we're going to probably be refinishing the wheels. And I just want to do a quick walk around. So, you know, you got a lot of dust and dirt. I mean, you don't even know what this stuff is. And I'm just going to do a teardown. I want to get all that wax off it. You can do this a few ways. You can wash it and then hit it with isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to break a cardinal detailing rule and do something that I never, ever tell people to do, just because this car is 20 plus years old. It has probably never been professionally detailed, and it's time to do a little bit of a teardown on it. So we're actually going to take a little bit of Dawn and just put you know, maybe a good shot or so into our wash bucket. And that's going to help break down all of the wax, crud, and junk that's living on this thing. So first thing we're going to do here, pressure wash. And you know, this is your opportunity to come in, flush out all those cracks, find all those crevices, find all that dirt that's been hiding, shake loose a little of that surface rust, blast a little paint off, and just you know, maybe get a little of that dust and debris off. Want to make sure always to try to get good clean water into that space here between bed and vehicle. This is where a lot of times failures happen because of rust, because it never ever really gets clean. So that's something to think about. Just come through here and give this a good spray down. A lot of junk often accumulates in those gaps in pickup trucks, especially right in there, especially along the rear wheel rocker. Get up under here with the angle. So you can see, just to take a look at this, you can absolutely see how little protection's on the vehicle. And it's pretty obvious. Oh, did I break my pressure washer in some way, shape, or form? Is it leaking? I think it might be leaking a bit. There we go. Sorry, just cocked on a little bit. So one thing you'll notice is, and we'll get the whole hood wet here. Look how glass flat that is. There isn't an ounce of protection left in this car. And when you run your hand on it, it almost feels a little gritty, like almost not quite sandpaper. It's not that bad. But, you know, if you could almost run your nail on it a little, you could probably feel a little bit of that garbage that's stuck to the paint. We've also got a fair amount of stone chipping here. Some of this right down to the bare metal, and they're starting to rust a little. So we've got some touch-up paint on order. We'll go through a process to show you guys how to put touch-up paint on one of these and clean it up. Probably do a little polish on these guys too. You see the marker lights, I think, have been replaced at some point with an aftermarket. These look pretty original, and they've got a little bit of that kind of fogging on them. So I'm wondering if we can maybe get a little plastic. Not too bad, maybe a little plastic to clean that up from Meguiar's. But anyway, let's just go through the pressure wash here. Take some time to really degunk the windshield. The top's in pretty rough shape. She's got some sunburn on the roof, but in the meantime, let's attack 20 years of bugs. This car had been off and on parked outdoors, and one thing I'll say about cars that are parked outside, sorry, it's getting dark, it's kind of where we're at right now, it's that time of the year, but one thing I'll say about cars that get parked outside, it's really important to think about, is they often have junk built up in the seams. And so sometimes when you open a door, you'll see maybe in the door jamb right here, you'll see a lot of just garbage built up. Sometimes you can get in there just like that with the pressure washer and break it loose. Overall, this thing's pretty clean. The guy took pretty good care of it, but you know, you can just look, whenever you see paint and it looks like, boy, you can actually see the contaminants in that. I don't know if you guys can see that in the light there, I'll check it in the video, but just it almost looks like a little orange peeling, and there's all these little spots, and that's probably tree sap. But that is embedded in the paint, and so you have to clay bar and or polish to actually remove that from the vehicle and make it look kind of shiny and new. So keep on working our process here. Always get your fuel door good. Get those gaps good. It's also a great time to find out that maybe one of your seals is failing. You know, a lot of older vehicles, they tend to have issues with door seals. They haven't been kept up. You can use the famous Honda Sex Lube, the Shin Etsu grease, which looks like a big tube of Vaseline. It's used for door seals. I've got a tube of it that I'll probably actually touch this thing up. Helps with road noise too, as silly as that sounds. When your door seals are in better condition, the car's quieter. I'm going to come through and soak the bottom down pretty good. See if we can't flake a little rust off it. Just a few spots. And yeah, you can see that. So that pressure washer is breaking off a little bit of that flake rust. So that's just the surface rust. And what happens is the Toyota coated these frames from the factory in like a paint, basically like just a protectant paint. And what ends up happening over time with that paint is that moisture gets behind it and it starts to flake off. So when you see rust flaking off a truck like this, it doesn't mean the end of the world. It's very, very common to have that happen, and you can see it probably at a quarter as bad as this on our GX, which is 8 years old. But we get our GX treated at Crown for rust proofing. So that's just something to think about. If you've got one of these trucks, frame rust is probably the primary thing that kills them. A lot of the time, mileage on these things doesn't really matter that much, just because they're usually pretty well kept. So just come through and give it a good dousing with proper soap here. Whole way around. I think there's something gumming up my foam gun. There we go. Wasn't throwing quite as thick as it normally does there. Sometimes a little debris will get stuck in it, and that's kind of annoying, but so we'll just come through and give it a real good soak down with some good soapy water here. And just for reference, I get asked a fair amount about how often do I go through and how much soap do I put in this? And the answer is probably just enough to cover the bottom, a little bit, maybe a little more than that. So you don't have to go too crazy with it, but just something to be aware of. I'm gonna come around here behind the truck. I can get all my cord here. Whoa, that was bad. Good thing we're polishing it. All right, let's come through here, give it a little love on the back. And one thing I really like to do with a truck, especially one like this that's a little taller, is you get down on your knees here, and you can soak a lot of the undercarriage down with a good coating of soap. And no downside to doing this. This is one of those things, has rust preventers in it. It's going to be one of those things that protects it, cleans it, keeps it organized. Sorry for the vertical video there. Almost just want it to cascade down the side and maybe help loosen some of those contaminants and the damage that you see here. This is another area that, again, you get down to your hands and knees, no downside to just getting a little soapy water, clean water up into these older Toyotas that frankly tend to have some frame issues, you know, and that's just something you really got to be cognizant of on these things. So I think we're all set with this guy. We'll pop this out if I can get it, and then we'll handle the wheels real quick. So the wheels are kind of in rough shape. These front guys, where's my, right there. These front guys are starting to have a little bit of failure on the actual finish. So you can see it's starting to flake a little bit and stuff like that. So one thing I like to do is just come through with a good quality wheel cleaner. This is diluted about 4:1, and I buy it by the gallon. I think this is a Chemical Guys product, but McGuire's makes a really similar product too. And you can get them on Amazon and get them online elsewhere, but buy the gallon, because if you can buy the gallon at 4:1, you can make 4 gallons of wheel cleaner. And I've used, between the 1LE a few minutes ago and this thing, this started off right about here. So I've used probably 5 or 6 ounces. Each spray is probably a 1/4 ounce. And I'm using five sprays a wheel, and that starts adding up pretty quick. So, other thing, it's not particularly warm outside tonight. This is a good northeast Midwest fall evening. It's a balmy, I don't know, probably about I would put it at about 50 degrees. And one of the tricks to keep from freezing to death while you're tinkering away out here doing dumb stuff like working on a car in the middle of the freaking night, my neighbors probably think I'm crazy. One of the perks of doing this is that, and kind of the upsides to it is, I love to use warm water. If you've got access to warm water in your garage, or maybe in your house at a sink faucet near your garage, highly, highly, highly recommend you do so. And that allows you to not feel like your fingers are freezing off your hands, which is something that does happen when you are out here. So this chrome, this is a Nasta aftermarket kind of rock rail / step to get into this thing. It's kind of a nice piece. It appears a little bit newer, seems pretty well kept, and something I'll probably, frankly, leave on the truck. I think they look kind of sharp with the chrome mirrors and everything else. I'm normally not a big chrome guy, so just fish my... You can see this guy's got some paint failing on the Toyota logo here, so when we go to repaint the wheels, we need to make sure to also repaint these guys too. And you know, you can buy kits to repaint wheels and really not spend a lot of money. You can also plasti dip them as well to preserve the finish on them. That tends to be pretty effective, I find, and so that might be worth the investment. I am going through here and just kind of getting inside the wheel arch. This is an area that accumulates a lot of junk, and this wheel arch is of course bolted to something solid, and you know, thankfully it doesn't feel, well, there's a little rust starting right there on the top, and you can see that, just a little bit of flaking, but that's internal, and that's got a long way to go before it's up to here. So that's pretty common on a vehicle this age, but just something to think about. If you're going to do a deep clean on one, it's not a bad idea to even get an angle pressure washer tip and get up in there and really blast that guy out. I am using my wheel rag on the chrome bumper. So just something to think about here. And again, I am sorry, it's getting so dark. It gets so dark so fast here as we get later into the year. But, oh, there we go. Look at that. This is usually when I walk inside and my wife tells me, you were on the Ring camera 900 times in the last 6 hours. Oh, okay, cool. But anyway, just come around. And you can see that this is a pretty clean looking wheel, and you can really see the dirt coming off it. Just even from one kind of light, this is a pretty light cleaning. I mean, I'm just hitting it broadly with the microfiber and kind of getting into some of these crevices. I bet you a lot of this has just never even really been cleaned effectively. So you can really clean these up with a nice spray, with like a spray paint, really make it look good. And that's a nice cheap kind of way to dress up a truck that like this that might be a little older. You can paint a decent wheel set for, geez, probably less than 50 or 60 bucks, and do a nice job of it, make it look good, and then you're good to go. So here we are back into the light of day here, and yeah, you can see this has got some serious baked on. So I don't know, might need to go more aggressive to like a Scotch-Brite pad or something to really scour this clean. But you can see we got failure on the, you know, this is the actual finish of the wheel coming away from the aluminum. So this needs some love. It's definitely fixable. Got a lot of wheel weight on this guy too. So I noticed a wheel balance issue when I was driving it, and sometimes that'll even give you the wobble under braking. So you got a truck like this that's got brakes that are only maybe 15 or 20,000 miles old, but they feel like they're pulsating. Check your wheel balance before you go replace a whole set of rotors and pads for hundreds of dollars. That's something to think about. So just come through, get inside here, and all right. Okay, I think we're done with the wheels. Now on to the teardown wash. And honestly, I know I put Dawn in this bucket, but I'm almost wondering why I did, because there's so little protection even on this thing. But we'll just take our time. Again, this is done with warm water, so that's another thing that's going to kind of accelerate that chemical removal. And one thing I like to keep in here, if I can find it, there it is a brush. So this is a synthetic brush, and you can get in, you know, to all those spots and that Toyota logo there. How long that is, the world's longest car logo. So we'll just come through here, and I'm not going to focus too much on the roof right now, because the roof has suffered calamity and has some serious sunburn on it, to the point which the clear coat has failed, and it's got to get resprayed ultimately if you want to do it right. Okay, there we go. One thing I'll say too about the lifting action that you're going to get from Dawn, that I like for doing teardowns, is that it tends to lift a lot of contaminants itself. And so that's something to think about. You should never use that stuff regularly. You should try your very best to avoid it regularly, just because it will suck the life out of your paint, and you'll start to see every imperfection and swirl and really start looking like kind of junky. So this is just a quick show. Here, we'll get in the light here to show this to you guys. So here's a clean microfiber right out of there. This is one that just did the front quarter of the truck. Oh, and this is now junk because I just dropped it. That's all right. But look at the difference in the color, all the stuff that's embedded in that versus the one that's brand new. So this guy's spent. We'll toss that in our wheel bucket just because we don't need it, and we'll continue working our way around the vehicle with this guy here. So yeah, a little bit at a time, a little bit of everything. You just take your time and work the whole vehicle and really get it clean and go from there. So I'm probably gonna, just because it's getting so dark here, I think I'm gonna cash out for a moment with the YouTube video, and you're not really learning much here watching me just swipe this thing up and down. But once I wrap up with the actual wash process and rinse process, I'll pull it back in the garage. I'll flip the camera back on so you guys can see exactly what this thing looks like once it's really fully torn down. And under those lights, those LEDs, you will absolutely see kind of the damage that comes with years of just being, you know, frankly, a consumer-driven car. This is a car owned by just a normal guy, and this is, you know, was his vehicle. I love to get up on top here. This is probably something that's never, ever been cleaned up here. And so that's worth thinking about too when you get up on top. So, all right. Well, we'll be right back with you guys. Cheers. All right, guys, I know I just signed off of this video, but I just wanted to show you, now that the paint has dried, and you'll see it's still kind of just fading into dryness here, but this is the true extent of what this 20-year-old Toyota Tundra looks like underneath any wax, underneath any previous work that's been done to it. And clearly we've got a lot of stone chip damage. You can see a lot of those. But one thing you can definitely see is a lot of swirl marking, emblematic of what looks like touch car washes. It has that kind of circular swirling to it. We got definitely some bird strike, you know, just from some bird droppings. And then, you know, it's just going to need some work. You're going to have to be careful polishing this area, especially because the polisher will actually pull, you know, it will rip on that paint. So we'll probably have to touch it up a little bit first before we go too heavy right on that nose portion with the polisher. But you can see this is some old acid etching from bird droppings. This is where, you know, bird droppings fall on dark paint. It sits in the sun, it gets chewed up. You can also see just a little bit of the clear coat starting to fade and fail on this side, just right along here. It's very subtle, but just kind of emblematic of the fact that this side of the vehicle, the top of the vehicle, you can see with the door handles sat in the sun. So with that, I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like a little bit before we do any real detailing work. We'll do some before shots too. Probably the next step in the process is just to, you know, finish fully drying it. I've only got about halfway through the windshield and go from there. But anyway, appreciate you guys chiming in and liking and subscribing. Thanks so much.